Live though.
Oh.
Welcome, everybody, to the Huddle, KGUN9's weekly streaming sports talk show. I'm Jason Barr, joined by Pat Paris. Pat, good afternoon.
Hi, Jason.
Lots to talk about for sure. Very
Yes.
weekend for Arizona basketball at ASU with a heck of an ending there. The Wildcats getting by their rivals thanks to a big game by Caleb Love, but maybe a little trash talking during the game incident where BJ Freeman attempted to headbutt Caleb Love afterwards, kind of made contact. They both get tossed.
Why do you keep saying attempted? There's no question that he headbutted him. It might have been a glancing blow, and Caleb Love kind of recoiled a little bit, but he headbutted him. Nobody's disputing.
It's not a true headbutt.
Only you say he attempted to headbutt him. He headbutted him.
It was a little nudge, Pat.
But it's still a headbutt. It's still a headbutt. I don't know why you keep.
There's a difference between a little
narrative.
hitting somebody.
Your narrative changes, though, but it doesn't matter if he drew blood or he didn't draw blood. It doesn't matter if he left a weld or he didn't leave a weld. He headbutted him, and he should be tossed, and he was.
Well, Caleb Love also tossed, and that leads us to our Huddle poll question. See, what happened was Bobby Hurley, the head coach of ASU, took his players off the court, didn't do a handshake. Today, he regrets not doing at least a handshake with Tommy Lloyd, but he wanted the players to be not in the handshake line to prevent a bigger incident, which leads us to our Huddle poll question of the week, which is who is most responsible for how the U of A ASU game ended on Saturday? We're talking about the double technical foul with the two players being ejected and the lack of a handshake line at the end of the game. Do you find Bobby Hurley most responsible, Caleb Love most responsible, or BJ Freeman? Pat, I know you don't think it's Caleb Love. So and by the way, you can vote on KGUN9.com or on X. Pat, I know you don't think it's Caleb Love. If you have to pick Bobby Hurley or BJ Freeman, who's most responsible for how that ended?
Well, I know you think that I'm going to pick Bobby Hurley, but that's not the answer to me. The answer is BJ Freeman. So here, let's go back and reset this and start from the beginning of the incident. We'll talk more about the rest of what led up to that here in a minute. But BJ Freeman headbutted Caleb Love. Might have been a glancing blow, might have been soft, but he still headbutted. So he is most responsible for how things ended. From that point, I think it was the officiating that was really, really egregiously absent, let's put it that way, in this, that they didn't call that immediately. So when it doesn't get called immediately, then Caleb Love turns into what he did.
I don't think the officials saw it immediately.
What's that?
I don't think the officials saw it immediately.
Well, if you watch the replay, the official that's on the near court was looking right at it, and he didn't call it. And maybe that's what Bobby Hurley's upset about too, is things
because the announcers didn't see it live. Maybe that's where I'm getting it from.
And it could be because by that point it was off ball. Remember, it was the whistle had happened. So my point is, when you don't call that, Caleb Love is going to react the way we all would if somebody headbutted us and they didn't see it. Do I wish he would have toned it down just a little bit and maybe only gotten one technical or instead of a flagrant two, the way he handled it? Whatever. The bottom line is there's under a minute to go. He gets kicked out. Freeman, deservedly so, gets booted on a flagrant two. It really kind of just offsets each other and you move on. So I did pick BJ Freeman because he began the whole incident that we're talking about that resulted in this kind of ugliness at the end of the game.
Now, do you think that BJ Freeman just headbutted Caleb Love for no reason out of the blue because
they
lost the game?
Not at all. But do you think that Caleb Love trash talks for no reason at all? Caleb Love is the most vilified player in college basketball the last 2 years. And wherever he goes, he gets destroyed by the fan base.
Well, he's
and by
jawed
the
with
other
the
team.
fans during the game, Pat.
Because he's getting completely trashed. That's the way he operates. He's going to jaw a little bit with the players. He's going to jaw a little bit when fans jawed him. He doesn't walk out on the court and start jawing at the opposing team. The opposing team berates him. That's the way they do it. Whether you like it or not.
Well, the officials teed up Jaden Bradley for an after bucket.
Because Jaden Bradley was trying to help out his teammate. And of course they're trash talking a little bit. It's trash talking. For gosh sakes, Bobby Hurley, it's trash talking. Who was the biggest trash talker on the Duke championships team when he was there? Him. What I don't even understand how a guy like Bobby Hurley can get so bent out of shape about trash talking. I'm sorry, sticks and stones, Bobby Hurley. That's it. It's just trash talking. And if you can't handle it and you resulting headbutting a player, then that's your fault. You're ejected. But Bobby Hurley, you need to get a clue. And by the way, Jason, what an idiotic thing to do for the coach of a major rival to tell everybody that that his major rival is classless and then have to go a month later back down to Tucson to play Arizona. How brilliant is that guy?
On what will be senior night for Arizona and Caleb Love's final game at McHale Center. So I don't have a problem with Bobby Hurley taking the team off the court to prevent a problem in the
I really
handshake
don't
line.
either, actually.
But
I
he
don't
should
either.
have shaken Tommy Lloyd's hand.
Exactly.
I said it at the time, and sure enough, today on a Phoenix radio station, 98.7 Arizona Sports FM, Bobby Hurley did walk that back and say today he should have shaken Tommy Lloyd's hand. Let's hear that audio, courtesy 98.7 Arizona Sports FM.
Once I got the starters off the floor and got them towards the locker room and knew that my entire team was gone, I should have walked over and shook Tommy's hand. So that was something my thoughts are very preoccupied with my team and how they were feeling in a very difficult moment with a lot of bad things happening at the end. So if I could do anything over, I would have done that. Tommy and I spoke, and we discussed the end of the game, and we're good. We're on really good terms, and we always have been.
Well, he's on good terms with Tommy Lloyd because Tommy Lloyd's non-confrontational and played it all off. If Tommy Lloyd was like, hey, I don't like what you said about my player. I don't like how you said my team was classless. I don't like how you said you're not voting for my player. Then, there would be more of an issue. So there's no issue because Tommy Lloyd is deflecting and diffusing the situation.
Yeah. And that's it. And I agree that the situation had escalated to a point where the best way to de-escalate the situation was for the two head coaches to agree to just depart the court. But Bobby Hurley didn't even attempt to do that. He waved off Tommy Lloyd and tried to pull his players off, and he did pull some of them off. Then some of them didn't, so he went back, and he's just being Bobby Hurley, and it was really ugly.
He took the bench players off because there was still some time left in the game, so he left the
right.
5 players.
He tried to get everybody off, and they realized that they still had to inbound the ball again with less than a couple seconds left, and so it became really awkward, and then it actually escalated things just slightly again, and it was like it could have all been avoided. But I have no problem with him just deciding he's not going to do the handshake line. I wish it would have been handled a little bit differently, and I'm glad to see that at least he recognizes that fact that he could have handled that better. It still doesn't excuse. Go ahead.
The only part I disagree with you is I don't think this is like 100% ASU's fault here. No,
I'm not saying that. This is a rivalry, Jason. And if you can't handle a rivalry and you have to headbutt, that's on you. If you're a head coach and you can't handle a rivalry,
like the trash talking and the chatter was more from Arizona than it was from ASU.
That's bull, and you know it. That's ridiculous.
I don't know it. I watched it on TV.
That's ridiculous.
I'm getting that from the officials teeing up Jaden Bradley. I'm getting that from what Bobby Hurley said in the postgame.
And when they teed up Jaden Bradley, you watch the replay. Guess what Jaden Bradley did? He was running down the court. He looked at the bench and he looked back. Didn't say a word. He got teed up. So where's the trash talk there? It's a look. The bottom line is,
and it also might have been a makeup call because they teed up ASU earlier before.
You're right. I think they were looking for any little thing. They didn't think that anything rose to the level of a technical anywhere throughout the game until Freeman headbutted. After that, I'm saying until Freeman headbutted Caleb Love. So they didn't have a problem with what Caleb Love was saying. They clearly heard other guys trash talking. I'm talking about ASU. You cannot tell me that Arizona's Caleb Love was the only one trash talking and that, I'm not going to give him my vote because of the way he trash talks and he's classless. Yeah. You know what's classless? Going to the media and saying the other team's classless and I'm not going to give him my vote. That's ridiculous.
I like it. Heat it up, Pat. I like it.
And here's the thing. Hey. Thank God we have Richard Jefferson on our side, because Richard Jefferson, if you didn't get a chance to look at it, Richard Jefferson just lambasted Bobby Hurley on X. And Bobby Hurley deserves all of that. Bobby Hurley routinely called into the Pac-12 network when we were in the Pac-12 to complain when any analyst said anything bad about Arizona State. Are you kidding me? Get over it, Bobby. Talk about thin skin. This is a guy who did nothing but trash talk and get under the skin of every other player in college and his NBA career. And then he goes and becomes a head coach, and now he's whining about it. Give me a break.
Jason Barr, Pat Paris here on the Huddle. If Kentucky booed John Calipari coming back to Rupp Arena after a national title and 4 Final Fours, imagine the reception for Bobby Hurley at U of A coming up. We did have a comment. Thank you. And by the way, you can comment in. Jorge, my friend was sitting down behind the ASU bench and they were both talking smack to each other. Sure, I'm sure that was the case. I'm sure that wasn't
obviously it's the case.
I have a feeling it was a little bit more pro Arizona. But
okay. Here's the thing. I don't know why I found myself the last couple of weeks having to defend Caleb Love so much, not only to you but to friends, to Arizona fans who say some pretty ridiculous things about Caleb Love, and it's mainly after he has a poor performance. And I said
he's done some antics. Remember what he did in an Arizona uniform last year when they won at Duke, and he kind of blew the kisses or whatever.
And guess what? You got to remember about why he was doing that. He's a guy that played at North Carolina, and he got mercilessly booed and trash talked.
Players get booed, Pat. Doesn't mean you have to do that.
Exactly. And so when you have a chance to win, you can say, "Look at me. I just beat you, and all the trash talk you just did means nothing because I just beat you." He did it with Duke last year. He did it with ASU this time around.
Do you think that's going to be in a situation going forward, like tonight as we come on the air here? It's a Tuesday afternoon.
Tonight, they've been doing it everywhere he's gone.
Well, is this going to be escalated a little bit? I don't think it's that bad. Pat,
absolutely. Jason, I can tell you for a fact, it may not be as bad as what ASU is doing or what Duke was doing. He is the absolute focus of every student section of every visiting place that Arizona goes to play every time. Absolutely. He is the most he's a preseason All-America first team pick, and he's notorious for having up and down games. He's notorious for jawing with the crowd if they jaw at him. Of course, he's public enemy number one wherever he goes.
Well, what I'm saying is it might rise to another level now. We'll just have to find out. But don't tell me it's to the level of like what Christian Laettner was facing or some other players in the past. I don't think I wouldn't put Caleb Love at that level.
No.
He can completely ignore everything, but he doesn't do it. I think it's part of the way he fires himself up.
I think that's exactly how he gets himself going. And so when there's back and forth going on, and he wins, and he's a key contributor to the win, why can't he celebrate? I mean, I don't have any problem with that. Would I act that way? No. Would you act that way? No.
Maybe.
We don't have that skill level either. So we don't know. We don't really know how we would react.
Yeah. So basically, keeping in mind here, Arizona with the win now 9-1. Houston lost over the weekend, so the Wildcats in first place, tied for it with Houston. In the Big 12, 5 teams ranked in the top 25. And Arizona plays BYU tonight. BYU is tied for 6th with a 6-4 record, I believe. Wildcats at 9-1. Yeah. And by the way, the one loss to Texas Tech, they're the ones who beat Houston, and Texas Tech is ranked now, and then they've been playing some really good basketball.
And they come here Saturday night. Yeah,
it's going to be
Arizona's
got a much tougher schedule this back half of the Big 12 than the first half of the Big 12. They might go 6-4, Pat. You look at some of these games at Iowa State. They play Kansas. They play Houston. The game tonight at BYU is not going to be
easy. They go to Kansas State too. Here, Kansas State suddenly looks like a much better team than they were at the beginning of the season. So it's a tough schedule without a doubt. So you just got to take the next one. It's the old adage. I know it's boring, but we all said they've got to take care of business in Tempe, and it was a struggle. It wasn't going to be easy. Never is when it's a rivalry game. So they took care of business. Now they don't worry about Texas Tech. You got to worry about BYU, because BYU is right now one of those teams that I think Joe Lunardi has them in as one of the 8 Big 12 teams. But BYU doesn't feel any security about being a tournament team at this point. They've got to get a big signature win, and this would be the big signature win.
Love what I saw from Henry Vasar. After he was posterized, from that point on, he was dominant.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing that big man development from Tommy Lloyd that we've seen the first couple of years, because Owaka was a monster for a few games, and they almost couldn't put him back in the ASU game because Vasar was playing so well.
Well, that and he had foul trouble too, but yes. Yeah.
You know, so really like what I'm seeing from both those players.
It's turning into a great rotation of those two guys, right?
Yeah.
Because they're so different. And what a nightmare matchup for the opposing team to have Tobe Awaka, who's just a beast, and you can't move him. You cannot get him out of the lane on the defensive end or even the offensive end when he goes for rebounds. And then you have Henry Vasar, who's so much more skilled in how often do you think you'd say that a couple of years ago? But he is very skilled for a big man now, and he's really kind of coming into his own. I think it's a terrific 1-2 combo at that 5 spot.
Any thoughts on playing Connor Martinez a little bit in the first half, and then in the second half, barely, if any, playing in Del Orso? I don't know why seemed like he was benched in the second half.
Well, I think part of the issue becomes they got a lot of fouls were called against Arizona in the first half, remember, and then it was the other way around in the second half. So it was a way to take the pressure off giving up, getting guys into foul trouble. And Conrad Martinez, he's a very solid player. He's not going to be flashy. He's not going to do great things, but he's going to do good things. So to give him a few minutes, Jason, they might need him down. We've always said you've got to have guys in case there's an injury or foul trouble when you get into these games, and he's very serviceable for sure.
Yeah. All right. So let's Arizona basketball plays at BYU tonight. Season that did not look very good early on looks a whole lot different now as we are in the first week of February. Though we could spend a couple minutes here, Pat, on the Super Bowl. It's the Eagles and the Chiefs. I'll start with something funny. I'll start with something funny here. I saw on Instagram that if any Eagles player comes into Patrick Mahomes' bubble, he will be penalized, ejected, and then executed live on the next Manning cast. Obviously a joke and a reference to how Mahomes can't be hit.
Yeah.
Tell you what, the Eagles, the Eagles have a very good defense, and they've got, if Mahomes is the best player on the field, Saquon Barkley might be next. And the Chiefs have not been a dominant team all year. Every time you go against Mahomes and you bet against Mahomes, you lose. And certainly the Chiefs found a way a couple of years ago. I haven't really made up my decision yet, but I'm tempted to go with Philadelphia here. Your thoughts on the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I am too. And I hate to do that because I know every time I pick against Patrick Mahomes, he burns me. This is not the best. If this is a three-peat for the Chiefs, this is not the best of these three teams. I mean, 3 seasons. There's no way.
Well, people said it was going into the year. The receiver got hurt, and so it's changed. And obviously
their running game is
dominated. But I felt pretty strongly last year on the Chiefs, if I'm not mistaken.
You did.
I picked them hard. I wish I felt strongly enough to give to pick one or the other.
But if I remember your logic, last year, it was this is a rematch of an earlier Super Bowl, right, with the 49ers, and you picked the team that won the first time around generally wins the second time around.
It's a great memory. So yeah, if you go by that logic, then I should like the Chiefs.
Then you should pick the Chiefs. But there's just something about this Chiefs team. All these one possession or less than one possession wins.
Call. They get every call.
They get every call.
What happens in the game and they don't get the call?
Yeah.
What happens if the Eagles get the call? Our producer, Ryan McClure, 17 straight one
17 straight.
Wins.
Yep. As soon as I said
That's not like UConn basketball last year, dominating by 20 points every game in the tournament. That's not how the Chiefs are going into the Super Bowl. Right. It's not like those 49ers teams in the 80s or some of the other dominant teams we've seen in recent years. This is a team that's barely scraped by. I know there's a lot of parity, but I just don't feel like this is a dominant team coming in. And so I just don't have that same feeling I did last year.
But this is why I get concerned about the Chiefs is I don't remember a team really that was this calm, cool, and collected even when down double digits, 10 points or something like that. They have this knack of not overreacting to things not going well early in games, and they always seem to come back. They've done it all. They've done it in Super Bowls. They did it in the last Super Bowl. They've done it this year. So for whatever reason, they don't have that that excitability factor that gets them out of their game, and they just keep to their game plan. And if the Eagles think that they're going to play zone like they predominantly do against Patrick Mahomes, then they're sadly mistaken. Ask the Bills how that worked out in the first couple possessions. Mahomes just drove right down. They had to change their defense. The Eagles better have a game plan to figure out how to stop Patrick Mahomes. Otherwise, they're going to get scored on routinely. And I want the Eagles to win. I don't want, this is personally, I don't want Patrick Mahomes to win 3 in a row, the Chiefs to win 3 in a row. But I think it's going to be close. And if it's close, the Chiefs generally win those games. Well, always win those games.
Well, history, I think, will have the Chiefs on their side. Not only the Super Bowl rematch, but the team going for third straight hasn't really lost in a championship big game. I mean, maybe you could say the Cowboys had won 2 straight. They lost the NFC title game to the 49ers. But in the big game, if you go to other sports, the Bulls won 3 in a row twice. The Lakers won 3 in a row. Maybe that's a little bit different because that's basketball. But I feel like Philadelphia with Barkley, but when you go against Mahomes, it doesn't really work out. So I think what I would say is if I was going to find something else to bet in this game instead of betting on the team, maybe I go with the over under, or maybe I bet one of those more fun bets on who gets the first touchdown or something like that. I think that's the way I would go rather than feeling really strongly about who's going to win the game.
Well, fortunately, I don't bet on this stuff ever, so I'm okay with that. But I've as I get older, I find myself maybe swayed too much by my heart instead of my head. So, I'm not a good indicator of who might win games because I picked everything wrong the last couple of weeks in the NFL. So I think the Eagles are the better team. I don't think there's any question in my mind that the Eagles are the better team. The Chiefs have that it factor, that ability to overcome anything. And that's what scares me. But I really believe the Eagles have an opportunity here to get a win.
Yeah, no, I thought the Bills were going to go in and beat the Chiefs. And if they got that first down, things might be different. Or if the receiver made the catch, things would be different. I'm flipping on the TV this past weekend and, they're showing the Tyree catch, or I'm seeing it on social media, and I'm seeing all these great catches. The catch that Seattle had in the Super Bowl in Phoenix 10 years ago, right before the Malcolm Butler interception. Those are the catches that have to be made. He makes that catch or they get that first down. I think it's a different situation. But the Chiefs just somehow find a way.
Yeah, they have. And Andy Reid is the difference maker here. And people throughout history, because you and I have seen a lot more quarterbacks than say maybe some of the younger people that are watching, but we know that there are better quarterbacks in moments than, you can say Tom Brady's the GOAT, greatest of all time, but you and I have seen quarterbacks that in moments are better quarterbacks than Tom Brady, either athletically, stronger arm, intelligence, whatever, although he had a combination of all that. But there might be moments. There are quarterbacks that might be better than Patrick Mahomes in moments in their careers, but it's Patrick Mahomes with Andy Reid, just like Tom Brady with Belichick. It just, something happens and they just become almost invincible, right? And they feel that way too. The Patriots had kind of that factor the Chiefs had right now, that no moment was too big, but they did lose Super Bowls. The Chiefs have not lately.
It's been the Chiefs' decade after maybe a couple of decades for the Patriots, and maybe the Cowboys before that, and the 49ers in the 80s. It's been the Chiefs as they go for their 4th Super Bowl. Also, they go for their third in a row. And they won one more, right? So they have won 3 already. Yeah,
they've won 3 already.
That's right.
This would be
they won 3 already.
Overall.
This would be their 3rd in the row and the 4th, and then they lost 1 to Brady when he was with Tampa Bay.
Yeah,
so,
the one they won, remember, was early in the Super Bowls. Was that 4, 3 or 4, whatever that was? Yeah, 4 maybe 4.
Yeah, 4 rings. This would be 4 rings against 2 teams: 2 for the Niners, 2 against the Niners, and 2 against the Eagles. So, listen, you got to got to play who you play. All right. So I hope everybody enjoys Super Bowl Sunday. And we got a couple big Arizona basketball games this week. And so we'll be
Did we
back.
look at the poll question again?
Oh, the whole question. That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's finish
Yeah.
up with the whole question. Who is responsible, most responsible for how that ASU U of A basketball situation ended?
Not surprised.
Actually, I am. I would have thought a little bit more high on Hurley, but I guess the way you described it with Freeman in the headbutt, I can see that. You know, by the way, for a little secret here for everybody, I actually put in a fourth option, which would be all the trash talking earlier in the game, but we decided to just make it a little bit easier and just put those three. I'm curious if anybody would have put, the pregame.
Well, then you could add a fifth, all the Arizona State trash talking, which we don't know about, but we've heard.
No, I mean on both sides, really. Yeah, I kind of meant, right. Okay,
but no, I think you've got to pick. I mean, is it Hurley or Freeman if you're an Arizona fan? Now, if you ask this question to ASU fans, we know exactly what they would say. So, just your perspective, everybody's perspective. Look, Caleb Love is a player that when he's on your team and he's going well, you love him. But when he's going well and he's on the opposing team, you hate him. And I get it. And that's why he's a lightning rod wherever he goes.
I'm glad he came back. At first I wasn't, I kind of wanted Josan Sanin here as a true freshman. But he's kind of hit a freshman wall for ASU.
Yep.
We've seen what older players have done. And, he's the ASU player who originally committed to U of A. And then when Caleb Love.
I wonder if he has second thoughts when he sees maybe Bobby Hurley isn't as good a coach as he thought he was going to be. Or maybe ASU isn't as good as.
This has led to some speculation. It might be Hurley's last year. I hope not. I hope he gets one more year. I want to see what these young players can do next year.
Richard Jefferson.
A heck of a job. It's not an easy job.
Did you see what Richard Jefferson asked to give him a lifetime contract? He wants the Arizona Board of Regents to give him a lifetime contract because he thinks he's that mediocre of a head coach. So.
Listen, he's not been an easy place to get a lot of wins. ASU, it's kind of been the second team in the state as far as basketball. So, but when I look at the players that he recruited this year, was Sanin and Acquaintance. And a couple of those other guys, I think he's done a good job, and it might take another year. You got 18-year-olds playing up against 23-year-olds this year, with it being the last year for the fifth year COVID. I think that's kind of a tough situation. I'd love to see those guys, as sophomores next year. So I hope he gets another year. Plus, it's a lot of fun, gives us stuff to talk about, and he's an excited guy. So I don't dislike.
We still get to see him again. They still have to come down here, so we'll see him that middle game of 3 games that Arizona has in March, which is a lot of regular season games in March, 3 of them. So
Yep. All right, this has been the Huddle, KGUN9's weekly streaming sports talk show. We'll see you right back here next week to talk about the Super Bowl and more U of A basketball. For Pat, I'm Jason. Take care.